Hi, I'm Kennedy from thepatricias.com, and today I'm speaking with Jeff Herman, the producer of The Wild Robot, and Chris Sanders, the writer and director of The Wild Robot. The Wild Robot is about a robot named Roz who is shipwrecked on a deserted island and must learn to adapt to its new surroundings. Building relationships with the native animals, Roz soon develops a parental bond with an orphaned gosling. It is the best movie I have seen so far this year. You can still see The Wild Robot in theaters or watch it from the comfort of your own home because it is now available to own or rent on digital. The Wild Robot will be available on 4K, Blu-ray, and DVD December 3rd. Hi, my name is Kennedy. I'm from thepatricias.com. My family and I were invited to screen the movie at DreamWorks campus before it even went to theaters, and we loved it. The animation was so beautiful. You guys did so good.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Chris, when did you first read the Wild Robot novel? What inspired you to want to adapt the book into a movie?
I dropped into DreamWorks. I think it was around 2020, and I was just looking at what they might have in development. And amongst the properties they had was this book, The Wild Robot, and that was my first time that I read it. I took it home. They loaned it to me. I took it home and I read it. I found out just a few months later, once we began working on it, and I committed to writing the script, that my daughter showed me the book. When I told her what I was working on, she's like, "Oh yeah, I read that book," and she pulled it off the shelf and it had been there the whole time. And indeed, she had read it a couple of years prior as a school project.
Oh, that's so cool. Jeff, after working on this film for a couple of years, how has it been to see and hear the amazing feedback of everyone who is loving this film?
Oh my gosh, it's so overwhelmingly positive. I mean, it's such a great feeling. And it's overwhelming because it's just been so consistent. The feedback's been so effusive. It's what we always strive for and hope for. And it's incredible when we get to experience how that everyone feels about the movie the way we do. It's just an incredible moment.
Yeah. Chris and Jeff, do you have a favorite scene in the movie?
Mm.
Um, there are so many.
So many.
Every time I watch the movie, I'm like, "Oh, this is my favorite scene." No, this is my favorite scene. There's no part of this film that I don't absolutely love watching, but I do have a special fondness for the moment in the film when the island is shutting down for the winter. It's because I think the music during that section, it's after Bright Bill has flown away in the midpoint of the film, and Roz and Fink have this conversation, and Fink takes off to go down into his burrow. And that whole sequence, and it's very simple. Like Roz is just walking to the top of this mountain just to activate her homing beacon, and it's just the animals going to sleep for the winter, the snow starting to fall, and everything about it. Music, the color, the effects, the way the animation was done. And Lupita's very simple line that she says, task complete. It's always really emotional for me.
Yeah, and same for me. I mean, there's so many moments, and obviously, when the migration leaves, I think is the one that everybody always gravitates to, and it probably is my ultimate favorite. But I'm gonna say something different for you, which is the moment that follows Chris's moment, and that's the winter storm when Roz, is so upset at having sent Brightbill off and not knowing if she's going to get to see him again. And her love kind of opens up and expands to include the entire island, and she kind of becomes a protector for the entire island. And she goes out and saves everyone that's been, mean to her and Brightbill, that made fun of them, and she goes out and rescues everyone and makes them a community.
Chris, what do you hope kids and families take away after watching this movie?
Um, I always think that stories like this um, invite conversation. I think, in particular, I think if a whole family goes to see this, I think moms, dads, kids are going to see this from their own personal perspectives, and that's I think one of the neat things about the story that Peter wrote is that it has all these things going on all at the same time, and there's so many different viewpoints going on all at the same time. So I would love for a family to see this and end up talking about it later, just talking about everything that's inside it.
I mean, when I watched it, I was talking about it with my family. It was so good.
Oh, that makes me happy. Thank
Great.
you.
Jeff, were there any specific challenges you encountered while filming and creating this movie?
Well, I think, I mean, there's a lot of things that are so special about this movie that happen quite late in the process. So I think even though Chris and I always had, I think, really strong ideas and hopes for what we wanted this movie to be, it's not until things like the animation and the voices and the music and things like that and the color, the final images that you get to see. A lot of that happens quite late in the process. We spend a little over 3 years making this movie, and we're a good couple years in before a lot of the bigger elements that I'm describing fall into place. And so that whole time you're kind of nervously anticipating those moments and are they going to work? Is it going to happen? And when it all comes together, it's magic.
It really is. Chris and Jeff, do you have any standout moments you can share about the creation, promotion, or rollout of this film?
Hmm. Um, gosh, I could share a story. There are so many stories in the making of this whole thing. I think when you work with this many artists, it's one of the coolest things in the world. I'm very, very lucky that I work in a place like DreamWorks where if I feel for some reason like I need some inspiration that particular day, I could just walk down the hall and drop into Ramon's office and see what he's up to, see what he's painting on his screen and stuff like that. There is a moment near the end of the film where Roz is talking to the animals and she's already said that she's going to leave. It's very, very, very end. And I was sitting in color dailies. This is very close to the end of the process. And I was in color dailies. And I couldn't help but notice that amongst all these animals that were there was a fish sitting there amongst the raccoons and otters, etc. And there's no way a fish should have been there. So one of the animators just thought he'd stick that in there and I wouldn't notice it. And I did notice it. But I said, you know what, the fish can stay as long as somebody's carrying it. So it explains how it got there. So he handed the fish to one of the raccoons. So if you know, it's one shot, if
One
you know
shot.
where to look at the right moment, you'll see a raccoon holding a fish, and the fish looks appropriately sad that Roz is leaving. Now
Chris,
you.
yeah, you.
Oh, me. Well, gosh, I don't have anything quite that funny. Let me think. I think one of the moment I'll talk about is when we did the first teaser trailer for the film.
Mm.
And just how again that was like the making of the movie in miniature, and in the sense of like really taking a big swing and doing something really bold in terms of what that first trailer was. And actually that was the first time we were seeing any of our shots in a finished rendered form. So that just created such an aura of excitement around the studio as everyone started to get to see glimpses of what that trailer was becoming. And then once it hit theaters and the whole world got to react to it, we felt something had happened, something significant had happened in the sense of the awareness of this film and what it could be. And that was kind of exciting.
Chris, how did the creation of this movie compare to some of the animated classics you have worked on over the years?
I would say that the amount of time that we put into this movie was just perfect. I've learned in the past that about 3.5 to 4 years is about the right amount of time to do one of these films from start to finish. It's enough time to get it right, but it's not too much time so that you're like doubting yourself. And it's not too small of amount. It's not too short of amount of time. So the length of the time was very consistent. I would say that I've worked on several different movies. All of them I'm immensely proud of, from Mulan, Lilo and Stitch, Lion King, How to Train Your Dragon, Croods. Amongst all of those, I think the 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 process of making this was, I don't want this to sound the wrong way, it was the easiest I've ever experienced. And it's not because it was not a challenge. Indeed, this was a greater technological challenge than I think any film I've ever worked on. It's just that everybody that worked on it, I think, just adopted this film as their own. And it was a real family that came together to create this film. And I think that the themes inside the story of kindness really, in like the entire production just like was imbued with that sort of philosophy. So it was an absolute joy to come to work every day on this film, and more so than any other I've worked on. And I never had so much fun seeing animation come in day by day, seeing each of these scenes come to life, to the point where as the animators rolled off one by one, and as they finished their characters after like a couple of years of animating, everybody was always sad. Every animator asked, "Is there one more shot? Do you have one more shot?" that I could do, and we were like, no, we're out. If we find one, we'll let you know. So that was the kind of atmosphere that it was on this whole production. It was really, as Jeff said once, and I think it's absolutely true. This was the film of a lifetime, for all of us in so many ways.
Well, I love all the movies you created and especially The Wild Robot. This is the best one yet. This is all the time I have, but thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel to stay informed about upcoming films and more. Please follow us on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, and our blog, thepatricios.com. Thank you. Bye.